Welcome back to... My nose is too big to be doing that, but welcome back to TC Talk Sports. I feel like it is my duty to make this video. I'm sure all of you have been looking forward to this since Saturday, but in this video, I'm going to be giving my honest opinion, reaction, breakdown, whatever you want to call it, for that embarrassing game that the Chargers had against the Texans on Saturday. I'm going to try to keep my composure as best as I can, try not to tear up a little bit, but watching that game on Saturday was rough, to say the least. Chargers coming into the game as a 2.5, 3-point favorite, whatever it was, on the road versus the Texans. They did not win, obviously, 32-12. Justin Herbert had more interceptions in that game than he did the entire regular season. He had just three interceptions throughout the whole regular season, 4 picks in the wild card game versus the Texans. I attribute that to the curse that has been put on the San Diego Chargers, now carrying over to the Los Angeles Chargers. I don't know where it came from. I don't know why somebody would do that, why it affects them so much, but Chargers are cursed, and that is a big part as to why Herbert threw 4 picks in that game. But anyways, here comes the controversy. Justin Herbert is still an elite quarterback. He's still top 5. Maybe he'll go as low as top 7 in the league, but he is still a really good professional football player. You cannot deny that. Yes, he probably had the worst game of his high school, college, and NFL career in that playoff game. Unfortunately, some bad throws, some mistakes weren't his fault, but also my favorite part is after that game on Saturday, everybody on the internet was shitting on Justin Herbert. Half of the quarterbacks in that first round of the playoffs played bad. I mean, I saw a little bit of chirps about Jordan Love, Sam Darnold, but no one got near as much criticism as Justin Herbert did from that game. All I'm saying is Justin Herbert haters were loud and proud after his game on Saturday, but barely anything has been put out about the other half of the other quarterbacks that played bad this weekend and on Monday, but that's whatever. Herbert's first interception of the game, it came after an embarrassing interception by C.J. Stroud, who did not play well in the first half, minus like 2 big plays, of course, that the Chargers defense led up. But Stroud's first interception, a bad pick for him. Chargers wanted to really make a big move in that game, try to bomb down the field to Quinton Johnson. I mean, he wasn't open. It was a tough interception. I've seen corners and safeties drop that kind of play all the time. Of course, Lassiter held on. Good interception. I mean, he threw it to Quinton Johnson, who I'll get into later. My God, but he had no chance of getting that ball. Bad throw by Justin Herbert, I can admit that. Before I get into Quinton Johnson, got to talk about the offensive line. Coming into this year, Jim Harbaugh said we're going to win in the trenches, be physical up front, offensively and defensively, and that worked out very well throughout the regular season. I don't want to say the offensive line played extremely well this season, but I think they did a very good job protecting their franchise quarterback, Justin Herbert, all the way up until Saturday in that wild card game. The offensive line was absolutely terrible. Herbert was pressured on more than 50% of his dropbacks in that game. It was like 56% or something. I'm going to pop up the tweet right here to show you, but when you're under that much, I want to see if that's some sort of record, because that was just insanity. When you're pressured that much and your wide receivers can't get any separation, or they do and they drop the frickin' ball, that's a tough recipe for success there. Herbert was under so much pressure in this game. I mean, he had less than a second and a half to throw the ball on more than half of his dropbacks in this game. I mean, it was just, I think the Texans finished with 4 sacks. Their deep front did a really good job, but one of my keys to this game coming into it was protect Justin Herbert, and they simply just did not do that. Before I get into Quinton Johnson, who arguably might be the worst wide receiver in the league, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Now that the Chargers season's over, I'll be doing less Chargers videos, but my motto, all sports, all the time. I'll be hitting NBA harder now, college basketball as we get closer to March Madness, a little bit of MLB, maybe a little bit of NHL, who knows, but make sure you hit that subscribe button. Follow along on my journey in trying to be the best sports channel on YouTube. Quinton Johnson, second-year wide receiver out of Texas Christian University, a Horned Frog. Obviously, rookie year, dealt with a lot of drops. This year, I gave him a second chance. Try to prove to himself and the organization that he can be the wide receiver 1 on that team. He had a couple good games in the regular season, still dealt with a lot of drops, and this playoff game was no different. 5 targets in this game, 3 drops, a critical route running mistake on a 4th down play early on in the game. Now, I mean, I know football, I'm a football fan, but I want to know, like, it was 4th and 2. He ran like a 1-yard out route. Yes, when you see the expanded view, he was really his only target. The other 2 receivers basically ran the same route, didn't have separation, so he pretty much had to go to Johnston. But first, he didn't even catch the ball. It looked like he did. He was short anyways, but it ended up being incomplete, so that's a drop for him. But even if he would have caught it, I don't think he would have broke out of that tackle to get the first down. But when it's 4th and 2, you got to run a route longer than 1 yard. I don't know if, I assume that's on him where he didn't know where the first down marker was, didn't run a deep enough route, but that play just blew my lid. Quinton Johnson's got to go. He's not a fit for this team. Herbert and Harbaugh tried to boost his confidence, get him playing better this year, which at times he did, but I just do not think he's an NFL receiver. If they drop him or get rid of him, cut him, whatever they do, I do not think another team would pick him up, and I don't blame them for doing so. Speaking of embarrassing, Will Dissly, dude, I couldn't believe what he did, not once, but twice in that game. Throughout the regular season, he's more known as a blocking tight end, but he did have some big receiving games this year, stepped up in big moments. In the playoff game, he did not do that. 2 drops for Will Dissly. 1, I think, will go down as one of the worst plays in the history of an NFL football player. His first drop, Herbert under pressure once again, like he was the entire game, escaped it, made a great throw to Dissly, just in and out of his hands. And then I believe it was the 3rd interception for Herbert. The ball right there, right in his hands, basically just gave it to the defense. Luckily, that one wasn't a pick 6, but who cares? That was one of the most embarrassing plays I have ever seen in my life from watching football. Not going as far in saying that Will Dissly should be dropped from the team because he did have a good regular season, and I think if they get more actual wide receivers on this team, he can go back to his normal position of being a run blocker or just pass pro and catch a couple passes here and there, but he can't be wide receiver 2 like he basically was this season. Watching the beginning of this game, with the turnovers and the quick score, I thought, no, this is turning into the Jaguars game from a couple years ago in the playoffs where they blew the 27-point lead, which wasn't Justin Herbert's fault either. But I think Chargers fans can agree the beginning of this game was super scary. I said, you got to score touchdowns. A field goal on the opening drive where they were moving the ball very well, even with the light beaming down the middle of the field into the receiver's eyes. But it was just giving me horrible flashbacks, and I don't know which game was worse to watch as a fan. The fumble, first play for the Texans, Loie Gilman getting his hands in there, Derwin James recovering the fumble. Derwin James played absolutely phenomenal in this game, making tackles in the open field, making an interception, which they didn't call an interception. I don't know what the thought process was there. Yes, the ball did hit the ground, but I don't think it affected it. I don't think the ball moved after he hit the ground, and that's the rule. The ball can hit the ground, but as long as it doesn't move and he has it secured, it's a catch. Des Bryant, of course, had to chirp in with his opinion, but Derwin James in that game once again proved that he is a top 5 safety, arguably the best safety in the National Football League. That Derwin James non-interception, I think, just changed the whole game. It was 10-6. Texans were up. Near the end of the 3rd quarter, Derwin picks it off. That would have been a huge momentum shift, a great defensive play. Got called back, but, game's over now. No catch. I think it's stupid. Ladd McConkey. Thank you, football gods, for giving the Chargers Ladd McConkey 9 catches, 197 receiving yards in that game. Yes, that came on an 86-yard touchdown, but it was a great catch in traffic, and then the speed just to shoot down the field to get into the end zone, which led to another embarrassing blocked extra point. Dicker, that was the first bad play of his professional career, I think. He batted it down when he should have just caught it, fell to the ground or whatever. Texans take it back for 2 points. I couldn't believe that happened either. There's 197 receiving yards, the most by a rookie in a single NFL playoff game in the history of the league. Coming into this year, I didn't think he'd be wide receiver 1. Honestly, I thought it would be DJ Chark or Josh Palmer, who he missed a bunch of games this year. I thought Quinton Johnson, he would have to take a big step forward to be that wide receiver one, but I thought maybe it could be a possibility, or the two guy behind Palmer or Chark. But going in the next season, unless they get a huge name wide receiver, Ladd McConkey is going to be wide receiver one, and honestly, I'm happy about that. Down 13-6 at the end of the third quarter, Justin Herbert. Yes, it was an overthrow to Ladd McConkey, but the ball did go right through his hands. I think he could have caught it. I think he should have caught it. Of course, it resulted in a pick six, a play that just drained all the emotion out of me. I mean, it was a close game. Near the end of that third quarter, just seeing that was absolutely heartbreaking. On the defensive side, another key to the game, I tweeted out my 3 keys. One of those keys, pressure the ever-living shit out of CJ Stroud. The first couple drives of the game, they did that perfectly. Chargers able to get a couple sacks. The first half was a good defensive, really the whole game, the defense played well, other than a guy that I'll get into here in a second. But they pressured Stroud at the beginning of the game and barely touched him the second half of the game. I think they did have a sack in the second half, but outside of that, protection was good for the Texans. Stroud had a lot of time to throw and basically zero pressure in the second half. All you need is a little bit of pressure if you have guys that can cover. Christian Fulton got exposed in that game by Nico Collins. Throughout the year, I think Fulton played well, but the last couple weeks of the season and going into the playoff game, he reminded me of Mike Davis from last year, where I repeatedly said he was one of the worst corners in the NFL last year, and statistically, that was true. Mike Davis last season gave up the second most yards to receivers while in coverage on that guy. Fulton did not play well at the end of the season. He said he hopes to come back. I don't want him back on this team, and I have no idea why he was matched up with Nico Collins, Pro Bowler, one of the best receivers throughout the regular season. He made Christian Fulton look stupid in that game. His touchdown came against one-on-one coverage with Fulton. He played horrible. Another key I had going into this game was limit big plays. Joe Mixon, they didn't give up too many big runs except for towards the end, but at that point it was game over. But they did a decent job at stopping the run, but they could not stop the big plays to Nico Collins, and it just absolutely blew my mind why Fulton was matched up one-on-one with Nico Collins for most of the game. Not going to say Stroud had a really good game. He didn't have a bad game, but honestly, outside of that scramble on third down, 6-0 in the second quarter, 2:24 to go, 3rd and 16 from the Houston 17, where they converted another third down earlier in that drive, which should have just killed that drive right there immediately. But a 3rd and 16, Stroud fumbles the snap. He gets out of the pocket, throws to a wide open wide receiver. I don't really know what happened in the coverage there, but Stroud able to extend the play. They picked up like 40 yards, a first down, led to Nico Collins' touchdown with 58 seconds left in the half. That one was absolutely killer. I don't like when the Chargers get the ball first. They did score, but I love to double dip where you can score before the half and then score in the first possession of the second half. Texans just closed that second quarter perfectly with that touchdown, using up most of that clock. But that play, I think, changed the course of that game. Because if you stop them on third down, you get the ball back. Who knows what would have happened before the half. But Stroud, I can admit, he made a great play. He outplayed Justin Herbert in this game. I still think Herbert is a better quarterback overall than CJ Stroud and more than 75% of the league. But obviously, that's a controversial topic, but I think that play really set the tone and helped the Texans tremendously in this game. Overall, yes, it was. I can confidently say, I haven't seen Justin Herbert high school football games, but I can confidently say that was one of, if not the worst game Justin Herbert has ever played in his career. But it's not all his fault. Nobody else stepped up. Literally nobody on the offensive side stepped up, except for Ladd McConkey, obviously, setting a rookie receiving record in the playoffs. Ocho Cinco called him the GOAT. That's true. He had a great season. Herbert played terrible, but there is no doubt in my mind that this team is going to be ready in the offseason. If they get some of those key guys back, Derwin James had the talk. He's been talking with Khalil Mack to get him coming back for next year. This was supposed to be a rebuilding year. This team went 11-6 and made the playoffs with a new GM, new head coach, new offensive coordinator, new defensive coordinator who I pray to God he comes back, Jesse Minter. Please return, because this defense was so fun to watch. I could actually trust them for basically the first time in my life. But I can confidently say that this team is going to be a good football team next year, and going into the future, I believe that they will make a key pickup, whether that's in the draft. There's been rumors with Tyler Warren, tight end from Penn State, getting drafted to the Chargers, which I'll be great with. He can block, he can catch, he can run, he can frickin' throw the ball if they need it. That would help. T. Higgins, I'm predicting, is going to be a Charger next season. I think he would be the clear-cut number one, but he would have competition with McConkey for that spot. I mean, I'm fine with them being a 1 and 2 wide receiver duo. That would help this team tremendously, but there's no doubt in my mind that this team is going to be good next year and definitely make another strong run for the playoffs. I've already put out a couple TikToks on my TikTok, TC Talk Sports. Go follow that. But I've gotten a ton of comments about the Justin Herbert discussion, the team as a whole. Comment below what you thought about this game, the future of the LA Chargers. Is Justin Herbert going to be there? How good is he? Because he is really good. But I love the idiots trying to make arguments that he's not a good quarterback. Jordan Love played like shit. Sam Darnold played like shit. Bo Nix didn't have a good game, but he's a rookie, so I'll kind of let that slide. Baker Mayfield played pretty good. I feel like Jalen Hurts didn't do too much in his game. Jaden Daniels honestly was probably the best quarterback out of that first round playoffs. Go to any GM or head coach and ask, outside of Pat Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, those three are top-tier, untouchable quarterbacks. But if you line up Justin Herbert with any other quarterback in the NFL, who you want on your team, who to start a franchise with, I mean, 90% of upper management's going to pick Justin Herbert or Joe Burrow. I mean, I feel like they're pretty even at this point. He's better than Jalen Hurts. He's better than Sam Darnold. I'd take him over Matt Stafford at this point in his career. Jared Goff is also in that top tier, but like I said, Justin Herbert is no lower than a top 7 quarterback in this league, and you cannot argue with that. I think I held my emotions intact for this video. Thank you for watching. I know people have probably been looking forward to this video. My thoughts on that game, I mean, my TikTok, I have a longer version of my live reaction to that game. Definitely go watch that. I mean, it was a horrible game, terrible game. I don't know which one was worse, the Jaguars or the Texans game, but 2 games that they definitely should have won. But I'm positive about this team going into next season. Overall, I give the season a B+, really not counting the playoff game, but the regular season, the way this team came together, won 11 games. I mean, it was fun to watch. I could actually believe in this team for the first time in a long time. Thank you, Chargers, and it's definitely a positive upside going into next year.